Hello, and welcome to the Talking Apron. This is the podcast that gives nutrition science about the food on your plate. I'm Ann Bernardin. I'm a nutrition educator, a diabetes prevention coach who lives with type 1 diabetes. Here, we blend real world kitchen wisdom and food science so you can eat well, feel well, and keep your blood sugar steady with the foods that you love. And since the holidays are fast approaching, today's episode is especially fitting. We're talking about sweet potatoes. You know, that warm, cozy side dish that can either send your blood sugar on a roller coaster or, with a few tweaks, help it stay balanced during your holiday meals. So go ahead and go grab your cuppa, whether that be tea or maybe some pumpkin spiced coffee, and let's dig in to the science of resistant starches. And you say, what? It's about why prepping your sweet potato casserole ahead of time or eating plenty of the leftovers might secretly be doing your gut and your glucose favor. So sweet potatoes, they are a nutrient-dense star of our holiday tables. Whether it be Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, it doesn't matter. Sweet potatoes are really one of the most nutritious root vegetables that you can add to your plate. Now, here's the breakdown for about 1 cup of baked sweet potato with the skin on. Has about 180 calories, 41 grams of carbohydrate. That includes 13 grams of natural sugars. It's just what it's made of. It has 6.6 grams of fiber, 4 grams of protein. Yes, you heard me right. Vegetables have protein. A whopping daily value for vitamin A, that's that orange color, 769%. Whoa! But it also has 35% vitamin C, 950 milligrams of potassium, and manganese. 50% of your daily value that they deem necessary. So that deep orange color from sweet potatoes, it comes from beta carotene. And that is a powerful antioxidant that converts the vitamin A for eye and immune health. The purple varieties, yes, you've seen them, they get their hue from anthocyanins, which have anti-inflammatory properties. And from a blood sugar perspective, sweet potatoes sit in the moderate glycemic index range. But here's the big B-U-T, but. Your method of cooking dramatically changes how your body processes them. So there is a science from starch, from digestion. So all starchy foods contain 2 types of molecules. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit into the deep dive here of a little bit of science, but this is how I nerd out. We have amylose and we have amylopectin. Those 2 properties, amylopectin, just picture this. It's a big tree. It has lots of branches spread out. It digests quickly, leading to faster glucose release. So there are more places where the enzymes can attach itself to digest it quickly. Where amylose is tighter. It's more of a linear structure, and it takes longer to digest. Okay, really good to know. You have the tree, and then you have more like a dense cactus. Takes long. When we cook starchy foods, heat and moisture cause the molecules to swell and gelatinize, making them more digestible, which is great for energy, but it's not really good for stable blood glucose. And here's what happens with the magic of cooling. Do you hear me? When you cook your sweet potatoes, cool them. The starch cools, and that gelatinized molecules, they reorganize. They say, oh man, it's getting cold out. And it's called retrogradation. And this retrograded starch, are you still following me? Becomes a resistant starch, meaning it resists the digestive process. And those digestive enzymes become, in your small intestine, can't fully break down all the glucose in the potatoes. So instead, this is what gets really, really interesting here. Okay, if you're following me, please hang in there. This isn't too much of a science lesson. It's really important. Instead, all right, so you've cooled your sweet potatoes, you're eating it, you get that good glucose, but it's moderate because you've cooled the sweet potatoes and you've made the resistant starch. The resistant starch resists digestion in your small intestine, and here's where the fun stuff happens. Goes to your large intestine or colon, and that's where beneficial bacteria ferment it. Yes, in your colon, and it makes it into short-chain fatty acids or butyrate. Now, butyrate strengthens our gut barrier. It lowers intestinal inflammation, and it improves insulin sensitivity. The insulin your body already makes every day, whether you're diabetic or not. It improves it throughout your body. Now, here's the piece that a lot of people aren't aware of. Do you know GLP-1s are big news nowadays? Yeah, they are. Ozempic and all those others. GLP-1, GLP-1, GLP-1. Well, resistant starch moves to the colon. Guess what? GLP-1 is made in the colon. We make it ourselves when we have a healthy gut. And GLP-1 is a hormone that enhances insulin secretion, but it also tells us we are full, stops all those cravings. And those are the same ones that are targeted by all those new diabetes medications. So when we take care of ourselves through food, our body naturally makes these GLP-1s. So yes, when you let the sweet potatoes cool and you reheat them later, now I'm saying reheat, not boil and zap in the microwave so it's way too hot. That doesn't help. You're not just saving your prep time, you're changing the chemical structure into something your body loves. All right, I want you to digest that for a minute. We're going to step away to pause, and I want to get a little personal. To those of you who have been told that your blood sugar is getting a little high, maybe you heard the word prediabetes, or you've watched family members struggle with type 2 diabetes, or you live with type 2 diabetes, or you're determined not to follow the American path leading to type 2 diabetes. You don't need to overhaul everything. Often the answer lies in understanding how your body works and how to make small, smart changes. So to help you get started, grab my free video guide, and it's 5 hacks to lower blood sugar fast. These are things that I have been doing for years to help myself, and I know that they can help you. And it's filled with the science-backed ways, everyday strategies to stabilize glucose, no fad diets, no guilt, just real answers you can use for your next meal. All right, you ready to get back to a little bit of the holiday chemistry and how to enjoy the season without spiking your blood sugar or overeating. So here's how to use this starch science to your advantage during the holidays. First, cool, reheat your sides. Now, we're not just talking sweet potatoes. So we're going to start with sweet potatoes. We're going to bake or boil your sweet potatoes a day ahead, 2 days ahead. You're going to chill them overnight. Ever made sweet potato casserole or made sweet potato cheesecake? All the same, chill. That cooling time lets the resistant starch form. Again, resistant starch goes to your colon and makes all that good stuff for the health of your gut and the GLP-1s. Okay. When you reheat them gently, which is below 250, the structure stays intact. Fast reheating, very high temps, can break some of it back down and go back to the original form. So we don't do that. Now, here's a second way to help that blood sugar stay balanced. We want to add protein and fat. So by adding olive oil, butter, nuts, coconut oil, it will slow down what's called gastric emptying. And that means how fast it's going through the tract. If you're a skier or maybe go on water slides, if you don't go on a raft that shoots you down or you don't wax your skis, it gets kind of stuck. Well, adding the oil slows it down. So then you don't get those high glucose peaks. So protein like turkey or beans, they delay that glucose, the breakdown of the carbohydrates you eat. So they flatten those spikes and you digest it more slowly. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you are making, let's say, a sweet potato casserole, or maybe you're making a dessert, adding a little bit of the coconut oil, it will still give it a sweet flavor, whether you're using cinnamon or nutmeg to it as well. But that oil helps stabilize it. Maybe you have a sweet potato puree that you're putting some pecans on top. Add some butter to it. It makes it a little richer, but it'll slow that absorption. Now, I'm not talking a stick of butter or a pound of butter unless you're making, a very huge tray and you're expecting more than 25 people. But adding a little will slow that digestion of the carbohydrates. Use spices. This is number 3. Use spices as a more like functional medicine. Cinnamon, nutmegs, and cloves don't just smell like the holidays. They can improve insulin signaling and glucose uptake. That means how well glucose is taken into the cells. Isn't that interesting? So our spices aren't just for flavor. They help our bodies too. Another way to help yourself during the holidays is those high fiber swaps. Maybe you're making a sweet potato dish, but if you roast cauliflower and then puree it or have some white beans, and the fiber in the beans and the cauliflower is much more than the sweet potatoes, put that in. Mix some in with the sweet potatoes. Now, don't overpower it with the cauliflower and do half, but even adding a cup to the 3 or 4 cups of sweet potatoes will add much more fiber, low down that gastric emptying, fast our body digests, and it feeds those gut microbiomes that thrive on the resistant starches. The last little piece on how to make holiday swaps: keep moving. They say only a 2-minute walk after you eat will help the glucose transport itself into our muscles. Well, it's called GLUT4 transporters. Don't have to remember that. But it's a mechanism that insulin uses. Now, if you can walk 15 minutes, even better. But even if you do two, you get up from the table, you make many trips back and forth to clean off the dishes. Maybe you sweep the floor. Maybe you do a bunch of stuff that's like 2 or 3 minutes before you're sedentary again. Really important. It is one of the simplest but most powerful medication. Yeah, not a medication. Things that you can do to support yourself. So is sweet potatoes the only source of resistant starch when you cool? Nope, nope, nope. It sure isn't. They're not the only players. So resistant starch also forms naturally in cooled and cooked rice, oats, and barley. Yes, make a big batch of oatmeal and then reheat slowly the next day. Better for you. Legumes like lentils, chickpeas, and navy beans have great resistant starches in them. Green bananas. Yes, green bananas or plantains. There's a green banana flour out there you can substitute into some of your baked goods to make a more resistant starch product for yourself to eat. And potatoes. You know, you make the big batch of potatoes, and then you find, oh, I made too many for the mashed potatoes. Cool them. Make potato salad the next day. Much better for your glucose. Cooked, then chilled pasta salads. Not as big of a bonus, but there is a bonus. Being able to sneak some of that resistant starch from the cooled pasta into your everyday meals. Now, remember that resistant starch count doesn't drop when you reheat gently. So leftovers can be your best friend. Let's finish this up with this. Your gut bacteria, they are active metabolic partners to us. They're not passive, they're active. When they digest that resistant starch that we've just talked about, as I said, they produce short-chain fatty acids. They heal our gut lining's tight junction, which reduces leaky gut or the constant inflammation that we may have. It communicates to the liver to decrease how much glucose it puts out during those times you're not eating or times during fasting, which is really important because our liver is constantly making glucose, which can mean our blood sugar is higher. Those short-chain fatty acids from the resistant starches, again made in your colon, they enhance insulin sensitivity in your muscle cells. So when you are walking and working out, you'll utilize all the good things that you have been eating, the carbohydrates that break down into the glucose. And those appetite hormones that we talked about that help you feel satisfied longer, like the GLP-1, you are improving how they are made and how much they are made in your own body. That's the biochemical reason why people who regularly eat high fiber, resistant starch-rich foods often have lower fasting glucose numbers and more stable, I'll call it after eating meal readings, even without changing their total calorie intake. So when you fill your holiday plate with cool sweet potatoes, maybe some roasted veggies, maybe some lean protein, you're literally changing the chemistry inside your body for the better. So here's the bottom line. Cooking and cooling starches turn them into gut-friendly, glucose-steady allies. Resistant starch feeds that beneficial bacteria that make hormones and fatty acids that your body depends upon. Pairing and pacing and planning your meals throughout the holidays keeps the joy on your plate and a really good balance in your body. So enjoy your sweet potato casserole, but make it ahead, lighten the sugar, drizzle with the oil of your type, oil or fat of your type, and top it with toasted pecans or walnut instead of the marshmallows. Your taste buds and your blood sugar and your colon and your appetite will thank you. That's it for today's kitchen chat. And remember, every time you look at your plate, remember it's science working to help your body. And it's one small step toward healthy, confident future, living into the future that you deserve. If today's episode gives you a new perspective, share it with a friend who could use a little bit of trying something new, apron courage, and then give a quick review. Now remember, to find the video guide, go to the description of this podcast, or you can find it at www.thetalkingapron.com/5-hacks. Till next time, keep your fork in one hand and your curiosity in the other, and enjoy. Remember, you only need one small change at a time. Until next time, this is Anne.